Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Welcome to the second video of the series where we are talking about or we are discussing the previous year's mains questions. So if you have not checked out the previous video from the same series, yesterday we talked about two important mains questions from art and architecture. So we are continuing with the second video for today, and here in this video we will be talking about two important questions that were asked in the year 2022 from art and architecture. Clear? So let's begin. If you have not watched the previous video, I would strongly recommend you to watch the two videos that we have done in the series before and then continue with this particular one. So the first question for the day is, discuss the significance of the lion and the bull figures in the Indian mythology, art and the architecture asked in the year 2022. See, this question can be broken down into multiple parts. So if you want me to break this particular question down into different parts, discuss the significance of, the first thing is the lion and the bull. Okay, so in the answer you will have to discuss the significance of both lion and the bull. Okay, where first is the Indian mythology, second is the art, and the third is the architecture. So if you make justice to these five aspects of the question that is asked, then your answer will be a beautiful one. So first, to start with, if we talk about the significance of the lion and the bull figures, just imagine if you have studied the ancient history, correct? Just imagine, where do we have the images of the animal for the first time in the ancient history? See, the first chapter in the ancient history where we have studied something called as prehistoric period, correct? This will be our first chapter, prehistoric period and the IVC. So in the prehistoric period, we have talked about three important phases: Paleolithic, Mesolithic and the Neolithic, correct? So we have talked about the Paleolithic characteristics. In the Mesolithic period, at specifically, there are caves in India called as Bhimbhitka caves, correct, in Madhya Pradesh. So as a part of the Bhimbhitka caves in the Mesolithic period and also in the upper Paleolithic period, for the first time we have the evidence of humans taming animals, correct? So that is an example of lion and the bull in the art, correct? So the earliest example will be the prehistoric man at the Bhimbhitka caves, where you have group hunting images being seen. You have the group of people in the Mesolithic period who used to live in the same place. Okay, so the same people, they are chasing animals, they are taming animals, they are having control over the animals. So this is the earliest evidence of the human interaction with the animals that we see in the evolution of the ancient history. Clear? This will be the first point. Second point, you can also write the Bhimbhitka in the exam, and you can also write the India map and locate where Bhimbhitka is. That will be a value addition for this particular question. So second, if you look at the Hindu mythology, okay, Hindu mythology, we have lion and the bull. See, lion is the vehicle of the goddess. Okay, we have the female goddess whose vehicle is lion. At the same time, you have bull, also the Nandi, which is the personification of strength. So in the Hindu mythology, you have lion and the bull. Where lion is personification of courage and bull is the symbol of strength, correct? This should be the second point in the Hindu mythology. Third, when we talk about the ancient history, we have very important time periods in the history, that is the Mauryan Empire and the post-Mauryan period. So in the Mauryan Empire also, in the Buddhist architecture, we have two important examples coming out from the Mauryan and the post-Mauryan period. The two examples for the lion and the bull are, if we talk about the emblem, okay, the Indian national emblem that we have taken from one of the Ashokan pillars. Okay, in the comment box, comment from which pillar, where is this particular place that we have borrowed the national emblem from? Okay, four-headed lion, from which pillar? What is that particular name of the place from where we have borrowed this emblem? So we have the lion, okay, as a part of the symbol in the post and the Mauryan period. So the second important thing, the use of bull. See, in the Mauryan Empire, or if you've studied the Buddhism and Jainism chapter, the first important subject under the Buddhism, or to be specific, under the Hinayana sect of Buddhism. So you would have studied about the Hinayana and the Mahayana sect of Buddhism, correct? So Hinayana sect of Buddhism is the original form of Buddhism, the original school of Buddhism for that matter. So from the Hinayana sect, later on we have the emergence of the Mahayana sect coming up. So in the Hinayana sect of Buddhism, you would have studied something called as symbols associated with the life of Buddha, correct? You would have studied the symbols associated with the life of Buddha. You have bull and the lotus, bull and the lotus, which signify the birth of Buddha, correct? Which signifies the birth of Buddha. So in the entire Buddhism for that matter, if you talk about the symbols, bull is the god, or bull is considered to be a symbol of fertility. Okay, bull is considered to be the symbol of fertility. So these are some of the things that you should have in your answer. So along with the introduction and also the conclusion, correct? So if you're concluding this particular answer, how do you conclude? See, your conclusion should be a summary of the entire things that you have written. There might be a lot of themes for conclusion. You can write the significance, you can write the way forward, you can write solution, but for this particular answer, those things will not apply. So you will have to summarize the entire time period of the art and architecture, Mauryan, post-Mauryan, and also the IBC. So your conclusion should be a summary of the entire thing that you will be writing over, correct? So, and again, this is a 10 marker, so easy. You will have 4 to 5 pointers in the body of the answer. As I've told you already, it's the body of the answer which will contain a lot of importance. It's the body of the answer which will give you a lot of marks. Clear? So, with this, let's move to the second question for the day. Okay, the second question for the day. Persian literary sources of the medieval India reflect the spirit of the age, correct? Comment. So, if you want to break down this particular question into different components, you will have Persian literary sources of medieval India. Of course, it should be medieval India. Okay, if it was ancient, we won't have the Persian. If it's modern, even then we will not have Persian. So Persian was in the emergence, and Persian reached its peak only in the medieval history. Reflect the spirit of the age. Okay, so basically the entire question, the theme of the question that revolves around is, you will have to talk about the Persian literature in the medieval history. So in the introduction, again, in the introduction, what do you write as a part of the introduction? It's very easy, clear? So if you're writing the introduction, 2 to 3 lines or 2 to 3 sentences maximum, the thing that you will have to cover in the introduction is that how did the Islam emerge into India? How did the Islam expand into India? So when you're writing about the Islamic expansion, you should mention about the 1206 slave dynasty and the emergence of Delhi Sultanate. Clear? So how did the Islam emerge into India and what happened? Just a brief time period. See, this time period of 700 to 1200 in the medieval history is termed as an early medieval time period. See, this is not even ancient, this is not medieval. This is a buffer time period between the medieval and the ancient. So this is termed as an early medieval time period in the ancient historic texts. So what happened in this early medieval time period is that the political situation in the North India was very, very feeble, very, very unstable, because 647 is when the Harshavardhana died, 647 AD. So after the death of Harshavardhana, Pushyabhutis of Taneshwar for that matter, you don't have a single king, you don't have an independent ruler till 1200 in the North India who could take over the entire empire. You don't have kings like Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka, Samudragupta, or Chandragupta II for that matter, or even Kanishka or Harshavardhana, which means all these kings took over the entire empire together. Though the empire was confederacies in some kings during the case of some kings, but they were considerably strong. But in this time period of 700 to 1200, you don't even find a single king in North India with such a considerable strength. Because of this reason, the North Indian political situation was very, very unstable, very, very unstable. As I always tell you, the bad politics will always give rise to bad economics. See, it's not a misnomer. Bad politics will give rise to bad economics. So you can see a lot of examples of bad politics giving rise to bad economics. One good example is Sri Lanka. Correct? Bad politics, bad economics. You have one more example of a very recent thing that's ongoing. That's Afghanistan. Bad politics, bad economics. Clear? So this is a common thing. Bad politics will always give rise to bad economics. So because of this bad political setup in the early medieval history in North India, the economy was also bad. When the polity is bad, when the economy is bad, when the social situation is bad, and you don't have the emergence of the science and technology happening during this particular time period. So because of all these reasons, the entire situation of the North India in the early medieval time period was very, very unstable, very unstable. And because of this, at the same time, in the same early medieval time period, we have the establishment of Islam happening in the Middle East. And because of this, in the year 712 AD, the first Islamic invasion happens on the Indian subcontinent, where a part of Sindh province, is captured by a person called Muhammad bin Qasim. Muhammad bin Qasim, for the first time in the year 712 AD, invades India, captures a province in Sindh. So this is considered to be the first Islamic invasion. And this is followed by 17 series of 17 invasions by Muhammad Ghazni, starts in the year 998 and ends in the year 1026 with the Battle of Somnath. Okay, that is the last thing where we have where Muhammad Ghazni invaded or looted the temple of Somnath and also destroyed it. Okay, 1026 is when we have the Somnath temple being destroyed by Muhammad Ghazni. Following the invasion of the Muhammad Ghazni, series of invasion like 17 times, we have Muhammad Ghori coming up in the first battle of Terrain and the second battle of Terrain in 1191 and the 1192. So after the first and the second battle of Terrain in the 1191 and the 1192, Muhammad Ghori installed one of his commander called Qutbuddin Aibak, and Qutbuddin Aibak in the year 1206 established slave dynasty, and this is the first Islamic dynasty in the form of Delhi Sultanate, which goes on and rules the North India till 1526. Okay, 1526 is when Babur comes over and starts Mughal Empire. So this is the entire history in the early medieval time period. So everything that I told you from the last 5 minutes, you will have to summarize in 2 to 3 sentences as a part of the introduction. Clear? That will be the introduction. How did actually the Islam enter India will be your introduction. So then obviously you will start with the body of the answer. See, the first important document of the Persian literature or the Persian language that we have from the medieval or the early medieval time period is from a person called Al-Biruni. Okay, Al-Biruni wrote a book called Kitab-ul-Hind. Who is this Al-Biruni? See, Al-Biruni was accompanied by Muhammad Ghazni wherever Muhammad Ghazni went. Okay, Muhammad Ghazni, the one who invaded India 17 times from 998 to 1026. Between the time period of around 27 years, Muhammad Ghazni invaded India 17 times. And wherever Muhammad Ghazni invaded, he took Al-Biruni with him. And Al-Biruni used to document, used to write what happened, how much did we conquer and how was that particular battle, how did we actually loot. So this entire travel vlogs was written by Al-Biruni. Every single time Muhammad Ghazni invaded India, Al-Biruni accompanied him. So the first and the most important Persian source that we find is the source of Al-Biruni. Correct? Second important, Amir Khusru. Second important, Amir Khusru, who was the contemporary of Ghiyazuddin Balbul and also Alauddin Khilji, wrote a book called Panchganj, Laila Manjum and Ain-i Sikandari. Very, very important. Ain-i Sikandari. Third one, Shams Siraj Afif, and he wrote a book called Taqi Firoz Shahi. Okay, this is about the Firoz Shah Tughlaq, FST. Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Okay, so Akbar. So this is with respect to the Delhi Sultanate, correct? Then we have in the year 1526, in the year 1526, as a part of the first battle of Panipat, Babur invaded India and laid the foundation for the Mughal Empire in India. So after Babur, we have Humayun. After Humayun, we have the Humayun's son, a person called Akbar, coming into existence. So Akbar was the one who made Persian, very important point, Akbar was the one who made Persian as a court language. Correct? And the Akbar's biography, Akbar Nama and Aina Akbari by Abdul Fazl was written in Persian language. Dara Shukhu, correct? Next, Dara Shukhu. Who was Dara Shukhu? Shah Jahan had lot many sons. So in the entire lineage of the Shah Jahan son, two important people are very noted. One is Dara Shukhu, second is Aurangzeb. Okay, Aurangzeb killed Dara Shukhu. And then Aurangzeb became the king in the year 1659. So 1659 is when Dara Shukhu was killed by Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb was the youngest son of the Shah Jahan, and Dara Shukhu was the eldest son of the Shah Jahan. Okay, so Dara Shukhu translated the Hindu scriptures from Sanskrit to Persian. See, this job was also done by the Al-Biruni. It is said that Al-Biruni was a scholar in 8 languages, and Al-Biruni, what he did was, most of the Sanskrit literature, Al-Biruni easily translated into Persian and Arabic. Correct? So because of this, Al-Biruni was able to decode the Indian society and the Indian culture. Not the entire society for that matter, but still some part of the Indian society and the culture and the norms and the traditions were decoded by Al-Biruni to Persian language when he actually did this work. Okay, it is also said that he even decoded the Patanjali's work, Mahabhashya. Patanjali's Mahabhashya was also translated to Persian language. So this is about the impact or the contributions of the Persian scholars to the early or in the early medieval or the medieval history in the Indian subcontinent. Clear? So I hope you have liked the video. If you have liked the video, hit the like button and also subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy. Hit the bell icon to not miss any video that the Legacy IAS Academy YouTube channel uploads. So have a nice day.